Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. Welcome back to our math curriculum mega blowout week where we are doing multiple...
It sounds like everything's on sale.
Everything's on sale. Yeah, I mean, well, 'tis the season. I mean, all the curriculums, everyone's curriculum's on sale. Today we're going to be talking about RightStart Math. We have talked about this twice in the past, and we'll link the other two podcasts below in the show notes if you want a deeper, more in-depth review. We did two reviews of that, and the reason why we did that is because that's the curriculum we have been doing for the last year with our young kindergartner, 5-6-year-old.
Yeah, we did our kind of initial thoughts and then a follow-up on it after we were more than halfway through the year. But, you know, in continuing with Math Week, we wanted to do a nice, short, snappy, give you the same pros and cons information that we've been talking about all week. So, RightStart Math. RightStart
Math. What is it? What do you get? So it's probably the most expensive of the curriculum options out there that we're going to talk about this whole week.
Initial investment expensive.
Initial investment is pricey. I think, what is it, about $80, $90 for the workbooks and then $200 for the manipulatives, somewhere in the $300 range?
Right. Yeah. So it's a workbook with some appendice pages, some extra pages, and a textbook that you get, and that's $91. So if you wanted to use it successive years, you only have to buy
in the $90, you also get the Abacus as well, I think, as part of that. You get
no, you don't. You just get the Yellow is the Sun book.
Okay, Yellow is the Sun
CD.
Book. Okay.
So and book. And then there is a separate manipulative set that is right at that 200. There's a few different levels of the manipulative set depending on how far you want to go with it. If you buy the whole, I think it's $212. It takes you from K through 6. So it's all the manipulatives you need for all of elementary school, which, you know, for us felt like a reasonable way. So it's a high upfront investment, but the box this came in was massive, you guys. Like, it was a really big box because there's a big balance beam, there's an abacus, there's tangrams, there's pegboards, there's cards,
tiles,
there's money, there's just a lot in there.
They even give you money. No,
not real money.
Not real money. So I think where a lot of anxiety comes from is some people don't know which curriculum their learner will identify with and work well with. So considering that you will spend $300, it's a huge investment for potentially a curriculum that your learner may not identify with or you may not enjoy and whatnot. So definitely a lot of fears there. I can say from my experience, I'm very happy we did this curriculum. We are continuing with this curriculum until next year. I think we're on lesson about 90 right now, so we're very close to the end. I think there's about 130 lessons in the whole book. It is not broken out by chapter like some of the previous curriculums that we've talked about in the past. It is spiral based, so you are coming back to concepts. So, for example, just to kind of elucidate what that looks like, you may do some counting by twos for a couple lessons, and then you'll go off and do some equation problems for maybe 2 or 3 lessons, and you'll come back then doing equation problems by twos. And so they kind of cycle back the concept and reinforce that through another aspect in using manipulatives, using the balance beam, heavy use of the abacus. I think we use the abacus on a daily basis to do math problems, to do a lot of the warm-up exercises. It does cycle back on a lot of things, but it does use a couple core things such as the tiles. There's a lot of, at the beginning of the curriculum, there's a lot of tally sticks. There's a lot of tile usage. As you evolve on that, you start to come back and do a little bit more abacus work, a lot more writing work. So you're actually writing equations and doing more balance beam work. So as it evolves through the year, you'll be using different manipulatives based on, you know, what your learner has mastered, what experiences they have. You'll notice that some lessons go faster than others because your learner has mastered that already. And so I find sometimes lessons go quick and then sometimes lessons go slow. Like, for example, my learner struggles with money. Money is not her thing, which is a good thing. You know, hopefully she'll be money conscious for the rest of her life. But there are some topics that are a little bit more of a challenge. Sometimes they're not. So it does feel like there's a lot of flow, but it doesn't feel like if you need to know that, okay, the next 7 lessons I'm talking about adding by ones and twos, does not have that. Each lesson can sometimes feel like it comes out of left field, but when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, you'll say, oh, this subsection, so each lesson has like 4 or 5 subsections. This subsection is reiterating a topic from 2 lessons ago. And you'll see how it cycles these ideas and these themes all the way through.
So let's talk about the format. Yeah. So you've got this teacher manual,
Teacher's
and then
manual.
you have the work texts.
Yep.
So how does it work? Do you first teach the subject and then they do activities along the way? How is it broken up?
So every lesson is broken up to about, I think, 2 pages. So it folds out. It's a nice spiral bound book. Starts with a warm up. Tends to be, 4 or 5 minute warm up, kind of building on previous concepts. And then it has a theme for that lesson, whatever that theme is. Like, for example, we've been doing addition by 2s was today's lesson. So, 46 plus 2 is, 48, right? We were doing math problems with that, like actual 48 plus 2 equals what? And then having to use your abacus to solve that problem. That was a couple of the lessons today. Yesterday or 2 days ago, it was counting all the way up to 100, writing out all the numbers and highlighting all the evens, and then seeing the pattern in a 10 by 10 grid.
Okay.
Those were the type of things that we would be doing. They would also have additional, hey, have your learner give you 32 on the abacus and then tell them to add 2, and then imagine they add 2 more, ask them what that number is. So
it's very guided.
Very
for
guided.
You as the teacher.
Absolutely.
How much do you feel people need to know about math or understand before they would do this kind of curriculum? Is it pretty much walking you right down the line?
Walks you right through. It actually gives you call and response answers. Not a heavily scripted. Some parents may have done the Teach Your Child to Learn to Read in 100 Lessons, which is a heavily scripted English language curriculum that I think we'll be covering here in the next week or so. But this curriculum doesn't do the heavy scripting, but it does do ask your child this question, and they put it in like brackets. Should be their response. Right, that type of thing. They have additional language in the margins if there is some nuance that you need to, press or you want to try to pull out of your learner. They do have those type of like guided things, but it's not a scripted lesson. But it does walk you through, so you don't need to have a deep math, upbringing on doing this. But you absolutely 100% have to be present for the entire lesson. There is absolutely no learner dread. This is not a learner who runs off, does a workbook thing. This is 100% you have to be there from start to finish.
Interesting.
And that can be a down for some parents, a down for some learners who may not want their parent looking over their shoulder the whole time, or they may not want.
Do you feel it's a looking over their shoulder while they're doing it, or is it a partnering of doing it together?
Exactly. Yeah. They really stress the collaborative nature of learning math, so that you are asking them questions, they're giving you responses, you're correcting in line, getting the right answer, doing another example. They do like to have you do multiple examples, so if the learner makes a mistake, you have a chance to then correct it again. But it is very heavy mentor, heavy touch. You are right there walking them through every single example, and then you're asking them questions. I have noticed in the last, say, the second half of the curriculum, they are leveraging the workbook a little bit more, which does entail the learner, hey, here's 10 math problems. Do them. Right. So I have noticed in the last.
So maybe it's not going to be, maybe as they progress, it
Yeah.
won't be as much 100% parent time.
But
I wonder if
but
that's...
to complete the lesson, you're looking at a lot of time at the table with them doing the lessons. It's very little, hey, Johnny, go do these 10 problems. And then you kind of sit back and prepare for the next lesson or something like that. You can't do that with this curriculum. Absolutely not.
So it seems like it's very high touch for parents,
Yes.
and there might be, as it progresses, more independent work, but at this kinder level at least, it's almost completely parent involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's heavily written out, and you are asking questions, and they give you some examples of what you need to teach them. They may walk you through some examples that you're going to then show them as a mentor. And, very often you're doing it on the table with them, whether it's like early on, you're doing a lot of tally sticks, or you're doing balance beam stuff, or you're doing abacus work. You're very often looking at the workbook, seeing what they want you to do, and then you're sitting there working with your learner how to do it.
So what I want to ask is, based on the way that this curriculum is done, and we've talked about mathematical reasoning and Math Mammoth and Singapore Dimensions so far this week, it seems like those all three are kind of cut from similar cloth, or maybe doing things a little bit differently. This seems like it's totally in another field. How do you think that compares? Like, personally, your experience having been in this, where those others are much more what people would traditionally think of as a math curriculum. This is not, I think, what they would think of. What do you think about that? How do you pros, cons? What do you think about how it's different?
So what I like about most, because I have the math and science background, and I enjoy kind of being an engineer and doing these type of in-depth math problems and working in a collaborative nature. I enjoy that. It's a great experience, and I enjoy that experience with my learner. She seems to resonate with that. It affords me the opportunity to be creative in the moment, run out ahead if she's really excited about something, maybe like deviate a little bit from the lesson, because it gives you that space where you are collaborating and working with your learner. You're not sitting over a problem in a workbook doing that problem, and when you're done with that problem, you move on to the next one. Or if you're done with that section, you go and do something else. It feels like in the moment, because you do so much manipulative work, you do so much abacus and balance beams and high touch tabletop kinesthetic learning, you can say, okay, well, maybe you didn't really understand this one, let's try it this little way, and then let's try it a little this way. I think I've learned over the last 80, 90 lessons of doing this curriculum, it affords you a lot of freedom to really hone what you're trying to show the learner and create more examples. You're not wedded to just a workbook and the example problems that they're giving you. But that can be very terrifying to people, because maybe they don't feel they can be that way. And maybe they feel like, well, as long as you can do the math problems, you should be fine, and do the workbook. Okay, you did a great job. I feel this curriculum is giving you a very solid base. And I think that's how they describe it on their.
Right, this is very foundational.
Foundational, and they really purposely attack various different methodologies of teaching, say, math or addition, or just the concepts of manipulating numbers on a number line, whether you're adding, counting by twos, whether you're doing simple multiplication, which we did a long time ago. It was wild. We did simple multiplication right up front because you started
a kindergarten
concept. You started doing doubles and triples.
So this is not, as you're talking about this is not aligned with Common Core.
I believe, having flipped through the other curriculums and gone through the pages and looked at what they did, you're absolutely getting everything in this curriculum that those are getting. I just feel like you're getting it in a fundamentally different way, because it requires so much touch. And like, my daughter's not doing a lot of workbook work with this. She's not sitting there doing, dozens of problems and then flipping a page doing another dozen problems. That just doesn't happen with this curriculum. You may do dozens of examples, but they're all in the abacus, and they're, doing tally sticks, and they're playing with tiles. And I just feel like when you are learning math and you're learning STEM and you're learning like physics and stuff, having an intuition for what you're learning kind of be imprinted on you is a difficult thing. And I don't necessarily think you get that by just doing workbook problems.
We talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, you have a physics degree and I have an engineering degree, and I very much was a show me the example,
Yeah.
and I'm going to plug and chug, which is a la Math Mammoth we talked about, right? That's very much
Exactly.
how
Or Singapore math as well.
right. That's very much how I learned, right? Like, oh, just show me how to do it and I'll do it. But once I got into upper level math, I couldn't tell you why I did it.
Yeah,
right.
The why is important.
That's what I didn't know, and I'm wondering if this different way of teaching it. Do you feel like this gives a different fundamental understanding of the why?
Yeah, I think it's not like my learner knows the why of what she's learning because she's still very young and the learning. I think she has an intuition, and that is what it's doing. Is it's imprinting the intuition of if she got something. So, for example, if you are a workbook, like what you're saying, an engineering type of background where you get the plug and chug, I get a problem, I do the problem, and I'm done. If you get a problem that's slightly different, that has a wrinkle, and you don't know how to do that, wheels fall off, doors fall off, right? I don't know how to do this problem. If you have an intuition of what you're trying to do, and you have the skills of doing the problem, you can, I believe, at my core, you can handle the wrinkles of the difference of what problem you come in front of. Now, listen, these are kindergartners.
Right.
The wrinkles are not very sophisticated, but like, for example, if you're talking about, 6th or 7th grade, math, if they understand intuitively what they're doing because they've had a nice solid background and they haven't just plugged and chugged and done millions of problems without understanding what they're doing, I think while they may be very accomplished in doing the workbook problems and may have a good idea on how to do an exact type of problem, I don't think they have a good appreciation of what they're doing. Like it's a difference between, say, somebody growing, backyard tomatoes and somebody who's a farmer of tomatoes, right? The farmer has an intuition of like looking at the crops, touching the leaves, that type of thing.
They know it intimately.
And they can handle and adapt based on changes and differences. A backyard gardener may not be able to do that.
Right. The book said to do it this way. And
Exactly.
I would definitely say when it came to working problems, whenever I would be given something that wasn't shown in a traditional way, I would definitely stumble with it. I was great at memorizing how to solve something, but not very good at making changes to how to solve it.
And maybe I can elucidate this a little better. This curriculum gives me the opportunity to ask my child, what do you think you should do? Right? What do you how would you solve this problem? Right? I have 7 tiles in front of you and I give you another 5. Let's use our Abacus. How would you do this? Oh, there's 10. Okay, good. We'll add the 7. Okay. If I just put 7 plus 5 and she just wrote, okay, 5 plus 7, that's 12, 2, carry the 1, 1. Okay, now I have 12, right? Great. She would know that. But physically seeing it and visualizing, the visualization, I think maybe is what I'm talking about. Understanding the answer by seeing what's put in front of you, I think is a key thing. I think that's something that this curriculum does a really good job about. I'm not not gushing about it. Maybe it sounds like I'm gushing about it, but it's just,
well, we do really like this
it's
curriculum.
fundamentally at its core, a completely different curriculum than all the other math curriculums we've talked about in the way you do it on a day-by-day basis.
That's true.
It is not like any of the other curriculums, and that there's a lot of pros because of that, and I've tried to explain some of the reasons why I like that, but there's also a lot of cons because you are spending time.
Right. So let's talk about that. Who do we feel this curriculum is best for?
This is definitely for those kinesthetic learners, people who gotta touch stuff, they gotta do things, they've gotta manipulate, they've gotta test and fail and try again.
I think this has the higher, the most manipulatives of any curriculum that I've seen.
Yeah,
not just the ones we've reviewed, but I think any that I've seen.
This is the key thing. If you had to go out and buy all the manipulatives, I don't think you'd probably spend more than $200. So
yeah, there's a lot of things, and none of them use an abacus either. Nothing. That's a pretty unique part of this.
I love the abacus. I think it should be in every kid's math box. If you don't choose RightStart Math, you should absolutely buy an Abacus. It's an absolute must. I know it's kind of silly. Like, what, an Abacus? Like, wasn't that invented in China or something like that? Like, we don't understand.
The year 800 or
Yeah, or
something.
something like that, right? Whatever. It's been around forever. And why would you choose a calculator? No, it's the touching of the beads, and it's scene 10, and it's scene 100, and it's visually seeing those things and being able to manipulate it with your fingers and doing quick counting. My gosh, it is such a great tool. So at the core of this curriculum is the Abacus. We use it almost every day. And even when it doesn't call for the Abacus, I tell her to use the Abacus. I'm like, use the Abacus. The answer's right there for you. Just use it.
You can see it.
You can see it. Get the experience of using it. It's a great calculator in a lot of respects, right? It's right there for you. Again, high touch learners, this is really good. Kids who want you to be there, want you to want to show off, and not in a vain way, but in a good way. Like, look at my accomplishment. I want you to see what I'm doing.
I want you to be there with them as a partner through that experience.
Absolutely. Also, non-traditional learners. So if you are, for lack of a better term, you don't want to do school at home.
Right.
All right. So there are.
You want to do different, be different.
Yes. If you're an unschooling family and you don't want to do school at home and workbooks, this is probably a very good curriculum for you because it's non-traditional. It's very kinesthetic.
You could never do this in a classroom.
You could never do this in a classroom. And you can really engage it and you can really go with it, right? You can really, why would you have to use tiles? Let's go outside and count acorns. Let's bring our Abacus with us on a walk. You can really have a good time and really explore the lessons and really adapt the lessons to almost anything. You really can't do that with the other curriculums. So if you are looking for more of like a non-traditional math experience, this is a really good one. Also, reluctant math kids. So I think kids who maybe are a little reluctant in doing the workbooks may really enjoy playing with tiles and playing with the Abacus and doing all these different types of activities on the table with their parents. I think it's a good way to kind of bring them out of their math shell.
Yeah. So if kids are, coming from a public school environment, maybe, or they've done workbook based math and they just like put the brakes on anytime they see anything that resembles math. Yeah. This would be a really good one.
You can absolutely make this look not like math for most of the time because it is, you're just playing with stuff. And
right.
I like this. I like that aspect of it. I think it's more intuitive at this level, teaching math this way. Also, as an aside, they have a lot of YouTube videos for every single lesson. I think they're in the lesson plan. So if you buy this curriculum, there's a teacher there who will walk you through the lesson. So if you as a learner, you as a mentor are a little, I don't know how to really teach this, they have videos on assisting you on that.
So I guess if you don't have time to be super high touch, but your child is okay with video lessons, that might work as a substitute for you, or maybe not.
No, I think they're really geared towards the mentor.
Okay, just teaching you how to do it. Okay.
Teaching you how to do it. I believe it's not somebody teaching your child for you.
I see.
That would be really nice if they had that, but I don't think they have that. It's a little the other way.
So who is this not for?
Absolutely. So it's definitely not for people who don't have the upfront investment. This is a very expensive curriculum upfront. Now, amortized over
right, if you
6,
say like
years.
$200 of manipulatives over 6 years. The other thing I was going to say is there is a digital option with these, so it's $91 for each year of workbooks and work texts. It's $100 if you want it digitally for just the work text part, the book, not the teacher manual, so that you could then reprint it for however many children you have. So that makes the yearly investment, if you have repeat kids, pretty low, which was one of our ways of offsetting that initial cost. As we said, gosh, well, for the next kid, it's only going to cost us $10 a year.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Good way to go, especially with multiple kids and they're going to be tracking through the same program. Definitely not for parents who may need a little bit more help in doing educating. They want their hands held through it. It doesn't have that. At times you do feel like you are having to be creative. And so if you struggle with that a little bit, that may not be for you. I feel that there's enough instruction throughout each lesson to get you through that. But a lot of times it does, the curriculum kind of stimulates creativity. And if you don't feel like you're that creative on the math, that may not be for you. What
if you are a parent who feels very reluctant about teaching math? Maybe you don't feel like you had a super solid math background and you feel a little bit nervous about teaching it. How do you feel like this is this for them?
I believe the lessons can help you through that, but I don't think it's as easy as the other curriculums that we've reviewed.
Right. I think that maybe like a Singapore Dimensions
Absolutely.
would be,
or Math Mammoth, or one of those.
would be more appropriate if you're very reluctant.
Absolutely.
Not this one.
Absolutely. Also, if you have a challenge of getting the one-on-one focus time, I know for a lesson for us, we spend about 25, 30 minutes. It easily can be broken up across. It has nice sections. So if you do it every single day, 15 minutes a day, really nice way to go. But if you don't have that one-on-one, for example, for us, we've got the 2-year-old. I can only do the math homework during the kids' nap time because it does require such a high touch with respect to the lessons and the learning, because I do need to be paying, very close attention to how she's doing it and really get that feel. So if you need a lot of one-on-one and you have a lot of kids in the house and they're being real crazy, I don't know if this is a good one for you. Also, visual learners, if your learner wants a lot of like colors and pictures and things like that, maybe not for them. If they're visual in the sense that they're kinesthetic and they want to touch and manipulate things, obviously. But if they want a lot of pictures and workbooks and stuff like that, that's
some of these others are very cute and have very engaging pictures.
Definitely not cutesy. It's very Spartan.
I think everything is all very black and white.
I think I showed you one of the Ariel. We were trying some car school, and Ariel opened up the RightStart Math. She goes, "Is this a lesson?" I'm like, "Yep, it's just a wall of text,
right?
And with some pictures of what you're supposed to do, and that's about it." So it's really Spartan in the book with respect to the educator. So it's really not meant for the learner. It's really just a teaching guide for you to teach your student. But anyway,
Great.
That's all. That's RightStart Math. It is our chosen curriculum. So we are a little biased.
For our family, so we definitely are probably a little biased. But
we blew over our time a little bit.
We hope that this, doing this in the same format as the others this week, we just give you kind of an idea of how this balances against the other curriculums that we're going to talk about. So we've got one more to go for us tomorrow, and then we'll be having one of our listeners actually talk about a curriculum she uses. So stay tuned as Math Week continues.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
Happy homeschooling!